morning viewers, welcome back to the video. I'm continuing my look at the Viet Cong historical sites in southern Vietnam, and right now I'm at a ferry terminal which is on the northern end of Vung Tau Peninsula, and in about 15 minutes or so I'll be getting on that boat over there and heading across to a location called Can Gio Biosphere. Alright then, that's it, we're underway. I'm on board the ferry, which is going to take me across to the Can Gio Biosphere, which is a large nature reserve area located approximately 40 kilometres to the southeast of Ho Chi Minh City. Alright, that's a view looking back at the northern tip of Vung Tau Peninsula. It's a fine day, but weather at this time of the year, in January, it's quite hazy. It's not actually all that hot, it's only about 28 degrees Celsius every day. For anybody that's visiting Vung Tau, if you want to do the trip across to Can Gio, this is actually a very good way of doing it. You can rent a motorbike in Vung Tau and take it on the ferry with you, and the price for one passenger and their motorbike is only about 120,000 Vietnam dong, which is about $5 US. As I mentioned, the Can Gio Biosphere is a natureland area to the southeast of Ho Chi Minh City. It's actually 75,000 hectares of mangrove wetland area. It was given UNESCO status back in 2000 after a very intense reforestation program after the end of the Second Indochina War between the American military and Vietnam forces. According to online information that I read, apparently the whole area is pretty much destroyed. Something like 1.5 million litres of herbicide, i.e. Agent Orange, was dropped over the area in the 1960s and 1970s. At the end of the conflict, the locals actually called it the Plain of Death. So yeah, sure, it was pretty badly damaged. Alright, I've arrived at the Can Gio ferry terminal, and the run time from Vung Tau was around about 45 minutes. Alright, I've got my motorbike here, so I'm going to be able to get around and see what I want to see without too many problems. This location is actually a tourist destination from Ho Chi Minh City, and it's actually known as the Monkey Island Tour. There's some small little restaurants here at the terminal. You can get yourself a baguette or a banh mi, as the Vietnamese call them, and probably a Vietnam style coffee. For anybody that decides to do the tour from Ho Chi Minh City, just be aware that although the distance isn't very far, the travel time is more than 2 hours due to the amount of traffic on the roads. I've done it a few years ago, and to be honest, it was pretty hectic. The day was about 8 to 9 hours, but at least half of that was spent sitting in a minivan. So coming across from Vung Tau is actually a pretty good idea, or a pretty good option. Alright, shortly I'll get underway and head to my first sightseeing stop, which is the start point where most of the tours coming from Ho Chi Minh City will go to first. I'm going to get a baguette or a banh mi made up to take with me for my lunch, and this lady here's getting stuck into it, getting it ready. Alright, I've arrived at the entry point for the Can Gio Biosphere. That's the ticket office there, and it's 100,000 Vietnam dong, or about $4 US for foreigner entry. And I've got to head down this road here, and it's about 1 kilometre to actually get to the area where there's monkeys and also saltwater crocodiles. This is an example of the mangrove forest. It's very dense, and as I mentioned earlier, there's around about 75,000 hectares of this mangrove forest in this location. Well, this is turning into a bit of a hike. Thankfully it's not too hot. It's January, and temperatures at this time of the year are actually quite good. It's normally under 30 degrees every day, and the humidity's not too high. The location I'm going to start off at is just up ahead, and that's advertised as an area where tourists coming from Ho Chi Minh City can look at, and also, if they want, feed the monkeys. Alright, as you can see, that mangrove forest is quite impenetrable, and there's 75,000 hectares of it, and there's our first monkey. Well, I made it. That walk wasn't too bad, a bit of a shade around. This is the actual entry point into the park, and there's a map of the route and what can be expected to see. As I mentioned, I came here 3 years ago on a tour from Ho Chi Minh City, and these monkeys are an absolute nightmare. They're stealing people's glasses, baseball caps, so be warned, anybody that's interested in coming here, have all your valuables and belongings safely secured. Well, according to the sign, there's actually boats that do tours around the waterways of the mangrove area. At the moment, it doesn't look like that's possible because the tide's out. Alright, this safety cage here is for the tourists to keep them separated from the monkeys trying to grab their food and drinks. Alright, next stop is the crocodile pond.
We wish you a useful and wonderful and sightseeing area of white animals. You can have meals at restaurants or canteen area. Please manage carefully your property, such as bags, clappers, mobile phones, camera, hats,
And this is quite a scenic spot actually. It's quite nice to walk through. As I mentioned, I'm going to go to the crocodile pond. That is up over that bridge there. And the last time I was here, there was a whole bunch of quite large saltwater crocodiles in a big muddy pond just over there somewhere. Alright, there's a sign telling us that we can expect to see saltwater crocodiles. This is a large walled off area, I guess, to keep all the crocodiles in here. Doesn't look very good at the moment. When I was here 3 years ago, there was a lot more crocs about. Doesn't seem to be too many at the moment. And there we have it. Quite a large saltwater croc. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's because the tide's out and they've all scattered, or they've got themselves buried in mud somewhere. There's a couple over there. When I was here last time, the tide was up and the this pond was absolutely chock-a-block with crocs milling about. Well, that crocodile pond was a bit of a disappointment actually. As I mentioned the last time I was here, there was a lot more crocodiles around. Maybe it's just because the tide was out and they're all gone into hiding. Anyway, I've got to push on down this road here. It's about 1 kilometre to the Viet Cong historical base camp. Alright, I'm on the path to the Viet Cong historical camp, and as you can see, this is a very scenic walk through the 75,000 hectares of mangrove forest. Okay, it looks as though I'm going in the right direction. Only another 600 metres to the entrance to the base. Alright, this boardwalk is an indication that we're getting close to the VC historical camp in the mangrove forests of the Can Gio Biosphere. It's not too far away, just up over this bridge, and we should be there. Okay, just up ahead I think. Alright, the park management people have done a pretty good job setting this up for tourism. Putting these walkways through this mangrove forest wouldn't have been an easy job, that's for sure. Because directly below me it's just a very muddy environment. Alright, here we are. Viet Cong camp just up ahead, and according to online information, this was in use during the 1960s and into the early part of the 1970s. What they've done with it now, it's basically the camp as it was, and they've put mannequins in place in a lot of the huts just to give a depiction of life in the mangrove forests back in the day. Okay, this is a bit of an overview of the layout of the camp from just on the perimeter, and as you can see, there's not too many people about at the moment. Alright, there's a number of huts, as I mentioned, depicting life as it was back in the day, and they've got these mannequins here as a representation of the people that would have been living here. Alright, something to keep in mind if you are interested in coming to this site. If you come on a weekday, as I have, the place is relatively empty. If you come here on the weekend, it'll be absolutely teeming, because a lot of the locals come up from Ho Chi Minh City to have a look at their history. Okay, we're coming up on what looks like might have been the communications hut. That noise you can hear in the background there, that's actually a documentary video which is playing in that hut right in front of us there. I guess it's basically real live footage of what actually occurred back in the day. And there we are, the good old communist struggle for independence and freedom monument. According to this sign, this is the command post of the base camp, and I guess this is a representation of the leaders back in the day making their plans. Right, these photos are actually fighters or people who manned this camp back when the resistance fight was active. What's interesting is a lot of these displays have actually got people with cameras documenting the events. This looks as though it's another representation of operations planning. Well, I think I've timed it pretty well today. Very few people about. When I was here last time, I made a mistake of coming on a weekend and it was absolutely packed. These walkways were just teeming with people. Alright, what we've got here is a representation of life back in the day. Apparently a lot of the people who lived in these camps were taken by crocodiles. I can imagine maybe the smaller crocs were probably used for food. Alright, this is an interesting representation of what they actually did with the US Air Force bombs that didn't explode. He went out and collected them and then cut them up and used the powder or whatever it was inside to make their own landmines. Alright, stepping into the armaments hut. As I said, they'd use the unexploded US Air Force bombs to create their own landmines. Yeah, I can imagine that might have been a bit of a hazardous activity. There was always a risk that one of those bombs might explode. Alright, more depictions of life out in the swamps. No doubt it was a pretty hard life. Crocodiles, mosquitoes, high humidity, Agent Orange being dropped. Yeah, it was a pretty tough existence, that's for sure. Alright, that completes my look at the Viet Cong base camp in the Can Gio mangrove forests, and that pretty much wraps up my look at all the Viet Cong base camps around the Ba Ria and Vung Tau area in southern Vietnam. Thanks for joining me on this these tours. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to see my upcoming adventures throughout Southeast Asia. Okay, until next time, safe travels.